question me.
No, yeah.
What should we do? Should we dance or... I was telling Robin about an order convention.
I think we can sit down. That was like magic. How did that happen? Okay, I think this is us, isn't it? So yeah, very warm welcome. A very warm welcome to people who might be watching back in Manchester on the YouTube live stream. So a very warm welcome to you. But yeah, a warm welcome to you all here in the Shrine Room at Adhisthana as we prepare to witness this important event for our centre and Sangha, the Chair Handover from Silabodhi to Lokeshvara. So a very important event. So just before we sort of prepare ourselves to enter that space, I'll say a few words. There's just a couple of organisational things. So tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock for meditation. Please don't forget, if you want a led meditation, shorter meditation, some body work, that's over in the yoga studio. If you were in here this morning and maybe the length of the sit was a bit too long to keep your posture, you know, the yoga studio is probably the better place to be. So just a reminder about that. And I think Stephen will be in the courtyard just before, just to guide people to where the yoga studio is. And then the second thing is just a reminder that we're in silence overnight until after breakfast. So please, please remember that. But if you need to speak to somebody, if you're finding the silence difficult, do approach one of the team. Yeah, we're really happy to just chat and check in with how you're doing. Okay. So let's just take a good look at each other. Turn around and look at each other. Take each other in. There's about 80 of us here on this retreat. So this is probably one of the biggest senses of our Sangha, our current Sangha that we've got. In this room right here now. And of course there's people back in Manchester who are watching this on YouTube, so try and imagine them as well. Just try and bring them to mind, all the people who are back in Manchester who we know. So this is our current Sangha, our current Manchester Sangha, and we're here to witness this important event for us of the handover from Silabodhi as chair to Lokeshvara as our new chair. But our Sangha has been, go back to 1977, when Sagramati and others started off what became the Manchester Buddhist Centre. The Sangha's been going since 1977. And I'm just going to read a little quote from Sagramati, just to give you a sense of that starting point. So this is from something he wrote for the opening newsletter for when we opened the centre in Turner Street. So he said, "One sunny June morning in 1977, I set out from North London and headed up in the motorway to Manchester in a clapped-out friend's food van. With me were Ratnajoti, who's no longer in the order, and John Wadkin, who later became Lalita Vajra. I had hitchhiked up to Manchester to find us somewhere to live and had secured 2 rooms in a house on Birch Lane in Longsight. It was in these 2 rooms that the Manchester Buddhist Centre was born." So over that time, the Sangha has grown and grown and grown. There's been hundreds and thousands of people who've come through the doors of every centre that we've had, going back to that centre in Longsight, then in Withington, and then in Chorlton, and then we moved to Turner Street in the Northern Quarter. So just try and bring those people to mind, those hundreds and thousands of people who've come through and been part of our Sangha over many, many years. And like us today, they'll have witnessed many things. They'll have witnessed births and deaths, and we've had funerals at the Buddhist Centre. But they'll have particularly witnessed people making commitments in many different ways. They'll have witnessed lots of people becoming mitras, including some of you here. They'll have witnessed ordination send-offs and welcome backs. They'll have witnessed people taking particular responsibilities in our Sangha to help our Sangha grow. They'll have witnessed many people before me in Surika who were mitra conveners, and many people who've been chairs before Silabodhi and Lokeshvara. But it's us right here, right now. We're going to witness this ritual handover from Silabodhi to Lokeshvara. And of course, we witness in the context of what we hold most dear. We witness in the context of the 3 jewels, the 3 precious jewels that mean so much to us. So we're going to mark that by saluting the 3 jewels now, and we'll do that in call and response. And Surika and I will do that together. Namo Buddhaya. Okay, so it's going to be an evening of rejoicings. So there's going to be some rejoicings in Silabodhi for all the time that he's given to the Manchester Centre and his responsibility of chair. He'll also say a few words of reflection. We'll introduce Lokeshvara, and also Lokeshvara will have an opportunity to just say a few words. And then the ritual handover will be done within the context of a 3-fold puja, which Surika will lead. So it's important that we do witness, and it's important that we pay as much attention as we can. There'll be a short leg stretch during the evening, but please do try and sort of keep your attention just to witness these two men who are taking part in this ritual handover. It's really important for them, I think, to be witnessed. So, okay, so I'm going to hand over to Sarika.
So you might all be wondering, why is there a picture of me on the screen?
This strange gesture. The reason is that when I thought about this evening, I felt very strongly that there was somebody's voice I would like to be heard this evening. And it's the voice of somebody that many of you will know and some of you won't know. And it's the voice of a man called Arthapriya. And Arthapriya was our chair during the transition from the centre before it was at Turner Street. So he's had a long connection with Manchester, and in recent years he's been our president. But he loves Manchester. It's really in his heart. And he stepped down as our president last December, and quite soon after that he found out that he'd got terminal cancer. And I thought, I really want to speak to Arthapriya and ask him something about being a chair and if he's got any words of wisdom and advice. So let's hear from our beloved Arthapriya.
I wanted to, I suppose, just ask you, thinking about Manchester, and obviously you've got such a long connection with here. You've been a chair here yourself, you've been our president, you've sort of witnessed many things over the years, and here we are in a new phase with Silabodhi stepping down and Lokeshvara stepping in. And I just thought, well, I'm really interested in what you think is important, or what advice you'd give, or just any reflections you'd share around being a chair in Manchester, really.
Yeah. Oh, it's a big question, that, isn't it? And I think in a way, depending on who it is, you get a different answer, because we've all got our temperamental inclinations, haven't we? And mine has always been towards people. So I would say Kalyanamitra. That's the important thing. But I was thinking the matter over a little bit, and what came to mind, Sarika, is the duties of an order member. And the way I see it is, the first duty of an order member is to keep your practice alive, to have a vivid practice, and to be faithful to Bante's elucidation of the Dharma. But that isn't a fixed thing. That is something to be discovered in our practice. So the chair needs to get on retreat. They need to especially get on solitary retreat. The chair is not a super manager. They're kind of a leader. And I know some people kind of balk at that word, leader. But leadership can be a number of different things, can't it? It will depend on the person. And you're not kind of leading alone, you're leading with the other trustees. You're kind of drawing in the qualities of other people. So a number of people can make creative contributions. But the first thing is, I think, to keep your practice vivid and alive. And if you do that, that will inspire people. Not only will that inspire people, but it will inspire you to carry on, because in the middle of a city, like a big city like Manchester, you need that. The city can kind of both stimulate you, overstimulate you, sometimes grind you down a little bit. You need to be a light in a dark place sometimes. So yeah, being faithful and true to your own practice. And of course, all order members have committed themselves to that when they get ordained. The second thing is to work in harmony with other order members. I would say as a chair to work in harmony with other order members and all those who want to deepen their going for refuge to the three jewels. Anybody who is sympathetic to that. Without that, without the harmony, with other order members, you're going to run into kind of difficulties. You're going to, in a way, block the contribution that others can make to the centre. And it's such a big centre, isn't it, that lots and lots of people can make a really good contribution to that. And when we work in harmony together, oh, you know what it's like. It's wonderful, isn't it? It's far less tiring when you're working together. You kind of create energy from almost nowhere. And when you're not in harmony, when you're at odds with one another, it's really draining. And I've been in both situations. You probably have yourself, but I certainly have been in both situations. And I know which is better. So the chair should exemplify that. Exemplify harmony, not just with the order, but with all the Sangha. And it rubs off. It really rubs off. And the third thing is to go out into the world, to remember the world. I think our fundamental responsibility as order members is to share the Dharma. And now, I'm in a particularly challenging situation in my life. We're all going to we're all going to die, aren't we? But I've been given kind of notice of that. And so that makes me kind of clearer on the fundamentals, what is really important. And somebody shared the Dharma with me. Bhante and other order members shared the Dharma with me. It changed my life, Surika. It gave me a life. And I'm so grateful for that I want to share that with others. And that's what I've been trying to do the last number of years. You're doing that. The trustees are doing that. Loads of people are doing that in Manchester. Not just the order members, everybody who's kind of taking on some responsibility there. So not forgetting the world. And when Bhante opened the centre, he said, you've got a beautiful centre, but don't forget the world. Go out into the world. Don't expect people to come to you. I mean, we want people to come into the centre, but also we need to let them know we're there. So the chair should be encouraging, I think, that in whatever way that manifests. He or she doesn't have to do it, themselves, but encouraging activities that make bridges between the centre and Manchester, Greater Manchester. And I had a dream. I don't know whether I told you about this. I had a dream about a golden pathway running through Manchester. It was being built, and nobody knew quite where it was going, but the whole of Manchester was involved in that. And I remember coming to visit Manchester in my dream, and I went into a newsagent, and they too were really excited about the way. It was called The Way, and you could go and see it. And this made out of golden maple wood, huge, running above the city, and but nobody had actually trod on it yet. And it was wonderful that the Buddhists, the non-Buddhists, everybody was involved in creating this pathway to. The odd thing was, pathway to nobody knew where, but they were all completely behind it. The politicians, the local Mancunians, you name it, the pathway. And so the centre, in a way, should be something like that, I think. The Buddhist Centre should be something like that, wherever it is. Now, you're really lucky, aren't you, to have Lokeshvara as your new chair, and he's a very, very capable, creative, able man. He will have his kind of own ideas of that, and he'll be working closely with the trustees. So Silabodhi had a Silabodhi flavour. I had a Arthapriya flavour. Lokeshvara will have a Lokeshvara flavour. And I just wish you luck with that. And I think Lokeshvara is very, very lucky to have you dedicated guys up there. I mean, he's very, very lucky to have that. And I look forward to seeing how it all kind of unfolds. And I feel grateful to Silabodhi for giving so much of his life to it.
Thank you so much.
Manchester, the Sangha there, I've got a big place in my heart. And they've sent me, I've had loads of cards and loads of cards from people around the Manchester Sangha. So it's an opportunity to also thank them.
Yeah, I'm really glad you've got the support you need, and I think your spiritual practice is there, isn't it? You know, I hope so. I hope it is. I mean, in a way, we kind of never know, do we? And in a way, it's not. It's never been that much of a kind of concern for me. Right. Okay.
You just get involved, muck in, and it changes your life. And
yes.
What my life would have been like if Bhante Sangha hadn't come into my world, I do not know. I hate to think, but I haven't had to think that because he did, and I was sensible enough to respond most of the time creatively to that. So I wish you all well on that retreat. 90 people, that is fantastic.
Thinking about Manchester, and obviously you've got such a long connection with here. You've been a chair here yourself.
Let's give rest. I think Arthapriya might be watching. If you're watching Arthapriya, it's just been so well received hearing from you, and we're all wishing you well from Adhisthana, and I'm sure people in Manchester are really wishing you well as well. So another round of applause for Arthapriya. Directing. Screen down. So we'll just take a little pause while we take the screen down so we can really take in the shrine. So just take a little minute as well just to really take in that beautiful message from Arthapriya. Yeah, we'll just pause for a minute or two. Maybe one of the tech people can just adjust this microphone ready for when you're ready. Yeah, thanks. I think we're going to have some people speaking actually first, so It's all right. Sorry, we'll work it out as we go along. Up, down, I don't know. It'll all become clearer. I'm testing you, I know. Just we'll wait and see. Okay, fine. Sorry, folks. Yeah, back to how it was, and then back again. They're very good, aren't they? I've always been really pleased that I'm not one of those people having to sort out microphones. Okay. Yeah. Okay, well done. So I don't know if you've noticed on the shrine, but we've brought a little bit of Manchester with us. And on the shrine is a picture of the beautiful Amitabha Rupa from the Lotus Hall. So I just thought it was important to bring something with us just to help us connect with our centre on Turner Street and our beautiful shrine room there as we start this evening. And obviously remembering we've got lots of people in Manchester who are actually witnessing this evening as well. So I want to invite Silabodhi, our current chair, he's still our chair at this point in time, let's give him a really big hand and invite him to step in and sit onto the throne. Well, you never know. We've got some people who are going to say some things about you. So we've got two of Silabodhi's friends who are going to come and rejoice in him, and particularly in his role of being chair for the last 5 years. So I'd like to start by inviting Dayanandi to come up and rejoice in Silabodhi. Yeah, you can stand. Are you all right standing?
Yeah. Oh, don't worry.
Looks quite worried now. That's quite low, isn't it? Shall I move this up a bit? What are you doing? This one's sagging. Technology. Yeah. Hello, viewers.
Good idea. That will work.
Could tie it to the ceiling. I haven't got a pocket to put it in. Oh, look at this. Oh, it's Manchester ingenuity. This is the microphone. Can you hear okay? Is it working? No? Okay, we'll turn it on now. Good, God, gosh, okay. All right. Well, yes, try and settle down. That was so moving, wasn't it? Listening to Arthapriya so beautifully and fluently. He's just evoking a quality of the chair of the Manchester Buddhist Centre. It sort of brought such a big dimension to it, didn't it? And I felt as though, actually listening to it, I felt as though, Silabodhi has been doing a lot of that. Each one I went tick, tick, tick. So, so it's a great delight to me to be able to, I can't quite see Silabodhi at the same time as doing this, but to rejoice in Silabodhi, a movable throne, That's nice. And yeah, great delight to. I've been reflecting quite a bit about, what I really appreciated in him as chair over the 5 years that he's been carrying that role for us, actually. So when Silabodhi became chair, 2019, I think, it was 2019, he'd only been ordained for about 4 years when he put himself forward very bravely to this big office, which, to be a chair of a really big centre such as ours with so many order members and mitras, in a way, it is a big overall, well, you become the overall, in a way, the spiritual as well as the practical, financial sort of, you have that responsibility for the whole centre. And so I thought, not sure, somebody who's been ordained only 4 years, is that too big a role for them? Not only that, but I thought, well, it's questionable whether 32 years working at a soap factory is really the best, is that the best sort of experience that's needed on a CV of a potential chair? But it seems that it was. Yeah, and I think there was something quite specific about the soap factory that I'm going to come back to later on. That was really, actually, when he told me about how he'd worked in the soap factory, I thought, yes, it's going to be fine. So, yeah, the meaning of Silabodhi's name, I think, it gives us a clue as to one reason why he was such a good chair and such a sort of trustworthy and reliable and heartfelt chair of the Buddhist Centre. So we had a chat last week to answer a few questions I had to just sort of help me prepare for tonight. And one thing he said was, in the meaning of his name, it can be drawn out in different ways, but currently he said, the way he currently reflects on it is Silabodhi, meaning enlightenment through integrity. Enlightenment through integrity. And I just thought that's very, very beautiful, a very beautiful aspiration, enlightenment through integrity. So the Bodhi of his name means enlightenment or awakening, and Sila usually translated as ethics, but integrity feels like a very sort of wholehearted, sort of central aspect of that ethical practice. Yeah, so integrity, I think it's a really beautiful quality, and I do see that in Silabodhi in the way I thought he will listen to and take seriously anything that's put to him, anything that's said to him. He's very, very open-minded, I think, and very fair in that way. He will listen to anybody, almost saying anything. I think he has his preferences. Silabodhi has his preferences, but I don't see him letting that stop him from being open to other views and ideas. He will also admit mistakes and change his course. He makes quite strong decisions, but then he will admit mistakes and change direction, which I think that's pretty impressive, actually, for anybody. And one example, some of you will be aware of, when the trustees made what some of us thought was a rather abrupt decision to sell the Buddhist Centre without consulting the rest of us. And the Sangha responded that they wanted to have a say in that process. Well, Silabodhi listened very carefully to what was being said, and I think he agreed, and he changed his mind, without any complex sort of emotions or resentment or anything, as far as one could see. He felt like he was just ready to do what the Sangha needed and wanted to help move us all forward together, and that's what happened, and I think that process is still going on. I think that receptivity and integrity makes you very trustworthy, Silabodhi. I think we can trust you, and makes him a leader that people will follow and will listen to, and we feel as though you have our interests at heart, which is very, very valuable and beautiful, actually. Yeah. And also, Arthapriya was talking about a centre chair needing to have a very strong and deep practice, spiritual practice, that we should keep reviving through going on retreat and deepening in meditation. And nothing could be more true of that than Silabodhi, whose very strong love of meditation has been really come across very, very strongly in his chairmanship and his way of giving input into the Sangha. Particularly, I think it was the beginning of the COVID pandemic, wasn't it? Silabodhi started the Monday night meditation online class, and it's still going, that Monday night class. And he was there like week in, week out for quite a long time, the main person, just injecting enthusiasm and also sort of friendship through that in that those Zoom evenings. They were one of the main things that were happening to start with, and yeah, we were all going to the Monday meditation class. Yeah, and it's also, it's lovely to see Silabodhi gets very enthused by meditation, and also in a way that it's the path to Bodhi, the path to enlightenment, that he's definitely pursuing. There's no two ways about it. He's very clear about that. And he delights in that, and I think that rubs off on the rest of us. I think there's definitely a quality in Manchester now of that greater spiritual depth through that. So, yeah, I think he saw from the start that spiritual depth was the heart of a thriving Buddhist centre and needed to have that at its heart. And although he's a really practical person and very pragmatic, he has always, as far as I know, made time to go on retreat, and definitely for his personal meditation practice all that time. So, and well, of course, it hasn't been at the easiest time to be a chair of a Buddhist centre, has it? My gosh, you couldn't ask for anything more challenging, I think. So he only had about, 9 months in office before COVID happened. And then, like, the whole world was turned upside down, including the Manchester Buddhist Centre. And things just ceased, didn't they, overnight? In 2020, maybe March or so. Suddenly no classes, no income, Sangha not knowing what was going to happen next. And also the team as well not knowing what was going to happen next. There was that furloughing that went on, wasn't there? And at one point, I think Silabodhi was perhaps the only person working for the Buddhist Centre, sort of carrying virtually everything. That's true, isn't it?
There were 3 others, actually.
Three of us, yeah.
Me, Vidyapala, Arya Rakshita, and I think Chandana.
And Chandana, that's 4.
Yeah.
Oh, three,
yeah,
four of you.
others.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, perhaps I'm quite a bit exaggerating there to say he was the only person. There were a few others who were valiantly doing a lot of work as well. But yes, what was I going to say? Yeah, so just huge challenges to meet, huge financial challenges, the humanitarian consequences of COVID were sort of everywhere, weren't they? The duty, in a way, to keep people safe. And I thought Silabodhi was like a real rock in that crisis. He stood by the Sangha and the centre, not turning away from difficulties and sort of facing the challenges one after the other, the practical challenges, the financial challenges, which kept on going, actually. I felt we could completely depend on... I felt I could depend on Silabodhi. I know he'll rise to things, and he'll be there. He'll meet the challenges. So sort of very Vajrayic sort of quality there, I think. And also within that, I think resourceful, imaginative, clear thinking and decisive. I think all of those qualities. Silabodhi had a great team, either furloughed or not furloughed. So, obviously there's a lot of people like who we have here, Surika and Vishankar and all of the other members of the team, very great team that's supporting Silabodhi, but the chair is very sort of like a fulcrum. Is that the right word? No, a keystone in an arch. Without that sort of keystone in the arch just collapses, even though you've got lots of nice stones. You take the arch out of the keystone out of the arch, it just falls down. Then later on, when the COVID crisis was a little bit less, that was, I'm not sure exactly what happened in what order, but remember all the fuel prices went up drastically, and we looked around at the Buddhist Centre and realised we had acres of single glazed windows, and the gas bills were going out of the windows, really. It was getting to the point where it wasn't clear whether the centre could even make its sort of monthly payments and make its way at all. And that was a big challenge to Silabodhi and the team to work out how to do that. And I think one of Silabodhi very much led the way to financial security for the centre, which I gather now breaks even or even makes a minor
Small surplus.
and that's a really enormous. And one of the ways they have done that is by creating a reduced team. That's one of the ways. And as part of that, they're having the vision for more volunteers at the centre. And that feels like it's been a fantastic opportunity, actually. Obviously, I think people have said over the years, we'd like to have volunteers, but I think it's the way it's being gone about this time. It feels like people really have stepped forward, and there are teams of volunteers doing some quite substantial work at the Buddhist Centre of all different types. In fact, I asked Silabodhi what he was, I don't know if I'm talking for too long, but I shall keep going. It's a little bit longer. What he was most pleased about in his time as chair, and one of the things he referred to is how much he enjoyed sort of getting to know people, seeing what their talents were and their skills, and sort of finding ways for them to contribute them at the centre and through the Sangha. And it's a very beautiful quality, really helping people to, I think I can remember when I first went along myself as a beginner, and I thought there's nothing for me to do here, and not even needed to make the tea. And when I started being able to do something, I felt I could engage more. And I think that's just really valuable. And I think in relation to that, it feels like the Sangha itself has much more diversity in it now than it did 5 years ago. There's more in terms of more creative energy, a wider variety of people involved, and lots of grassroots initiatives as well. So it feels like, that's a great way to leave the centre in very good quality, very good sort of vibe. It's all of us here, isn't it? Plus all the people at home. There's sort of a vibrant, creative Sangha. So lastly, I want to come back to the soap factory. And what I was going to promise you I was going to say, so when Silabodhi was, he used to talk about the soap factory quite a bit, obviously, because he was working there quite a bit, but it was a family business and started in 1893. Yeah, so Silabodhi was running his family business, this soap factory near Chorley somewhere. And being a small family business, it had its precarious financial ups and downs, and depended on whether one supermarket or another was going to buy their soap or not buy their soap. So it was like a very precarious sort of, he was running this, he had to be sort of finger on the pulse of that. But his one of the main things he said was he had really close relationships with the staff who were running the soap factory, and he's very aware of their situations, and he did everything he could to keep them in work. And sometimes he really would bend over backwards to make sure that just to make sure that their jobs were secure for them. And not only that, but he said some of the women used to come to him with their problems, and he was sounds like a bit like a father figure in a way, and they'd come and chat to him and they'd go away, and I just thought, well, somebody who's so kind in that way, I felt very moved actually, still do actually, I feel very moved to think about it. Has to be somebody like Silabodhi has become a real heart of the Sangha and a real heart of the Manchester Buddhist Centre as our chair. So although he has this sort of sometimes slightly gruff, always very pragmatic exterior and very practical, clear-thinking mind, it's always not far below the surface. There's a big sense of humour and a big heart, actually, and a lot of friendliness and care for people, which is, I think, lots of you have experienced. So there, I think that's it. So I'll do.
Thank you so much, Diane Andy. It's beautiful. So I'm now going to invite Chandradeepa to come up and rejoice in Silabodhi, and Chandradeepa has worked very closely with Silabodhi as part of the centre team.
Okay, can you hear me? Yeah. Great. Hello? Hello. Yeah, so it's a real delight to be here rejoicing in Silabodhi and being part of saying goodbye and saying thank you. Yeah, it feels very important. So, thank you for setting a lot of the context that I now don't have to give, Dayanandi. That's very helpful. So, I've got 3.5 things. So, the first thing is Silabodhi's staying power. So, I actually want to start with a story about someone called Milarepa, who a lot of you will know about. So, Milarepa he went to a teacher, and he'd done lots of bad things in his previous lives, but that life, he'd been murdering people, he'd been causing all sorts of issues. Thankfully, Silabodhi wasn't doing that before he was chair. So, but he found this teacher, and the teacher said, "I want you to build me a tower." And so he built a tower, and he said, "That's a bit wrong, actually. Tear it down." So he tore it down. And then he was like, "Build it over there instead." And then he'd build it over there, and then he'd say, "No, I don't like it. Tear it down." And so he'd tear it down. And he did this kind of multiple times. And the teaching that I get from that is that Milarepa basically had to go through these difficult experiences in order to transform himself. And I think Silabodhi's had to build quite a lot of towers in his time as chair and tear them down. And I think that's really transformed him, actually. So, as Dayanandi said, quite soon into becoming chair, everyone had to stay at home, the centre couldn't open, we had no idea where the money would come from, we had no idea, how would the health of our Sangha be, was everything okay? And I know Silabodhi came in, and he's a man with a lot of energy. And all of a sudden it's like, right, we're not doing this, we've got to do this. And I know that was really tough for him, but again, he just stayed with it and saw us through what's surely one of the most difficult times of, kind of life, but also the times for our Sangha. And then, so we kind of torn down that tower, built up the COVID tower. COVID was over, thanks. Yeah, great, we're back. And then it was, okay, we're coming back, off we go. And then again, as Dayanandi said, fuel prices went through the roof. So then it was like, okay, now we need to work out what on earth to do with that. So then the decision was made, okay, we're going to sell the centre. That's the path we're going down. And then, actually, no, maybe we need to do this instead. Maybe we need to work this out and do some more consultation with the Sangha. And there were times where I saw Silabodhi with his head in his hands at his desk in the office. It's like, oh, really? Again, we've got to stop and do this. And there were a few times, I must say, where I thought, I'm not sure he's gonna see this through. I think this just might be too difficult. And I think in a way, if he'd stopped being chair 2 years ago or something, it would have been understandable. He'd already been through a heck of a lot. I remember after the COVID period ended, he was referring to himself as having been like a wartime prime minister. But then it was like another war started, so off you go again. So I think that kind of staying power, that the difficulty happened and he came back and stayed with it, I just find remarkable, and I think we should all feel very grateful actually to him for doing that. And I think you have grown remarkably as a result of that. So that's staying power. Second thing is courage to ask the difficult questions. So, yeah, I think it follows on quite nicely from the last one. So, yeah, taking over as chair, looking at the finances. Well, he already knew the finances quite well as a trustee. But he knew that difficult questions had to be asked about, well, what do we do to get the centre's finances back into a good shape? And so that involved cutting down the team. And I know that quite a lot of difficult conversations had to happen as a result of that. And it mustn't have been easy. But again, he asked those difficult questions. There was a courage there that as has just been mentioned, we now have a surplus. So, yeah, I think that's remarkable. And the question of whether we stay in Turner Street, I know that it's been a question that's kind of been there on the periphery for quite a long time, and some people have kind of pushed it aside, but Silabodhi was like, no, we need to actually look at this. Kind of once and for all, we need to make that decision. Are we going to stay or are we going to go? And again, it's not an easy question to ask, but he's done it, and of course we're still in that process. But I think for the long-term health, well-being, stability of our Sangha, it's a question that really needed to be asked. And thirdly, Silabodhi has a deep care for individuals. So I've witnessed this personally. So I remember Silabodhi giving me a phone call and saying, Vijaypala's leaving as communications manager. I think you should put yourself forward to take on that role. And I was actually in quite a difficult place in my life at the time. And I remember just getting that phone call and just feeling that confidence from Silabodhi that I think you'd be great at this. I'd like you to do this. Did and still does mean a lot to me. And I've just seen that ongoingly as well, that it feels like, not just for me, but for everyone, I think in many ways, probably most people that you meet, but I've definitely seen it with people in the team, that Silabodhi sees what they have to give, Silabodhi sees their strengths and just encourages that and talks to people from that place of their strength. And I think the effect that has is that then those strengths grow. I definitely find that in myself, that when Silabodhi affirms me in that way, I feel more confident in myself. I feel more aware of what I've got to give, of my abilities, and then they grow, because what you dwell upon you become, and what you dwell upon grows, and I think that's happened with a lot of people, particularly in the team. And also, Silabodhi's taken a lot of care to come back into harmony with people when it's been difficult. I think it's, I'm sorry to say, Lokeshvara, I think it's impossible to take on a role like being chair without people disliking you. And at least falling out with people. And I know that's happened. There've been times where the harmony's gone and there's been disharmony between Silabodhi and certain other people. And what I've witnessed is one kind of case in particular where I've seen that he's just stayed in that difficulty and really tried to get back into harmony. And I think that's also meant looking at what he might be bringing, which will not be comfortable, and being able to be open about that and change that and learn from that. Yeah. So we've got the staying power, courage to ask the difficult questions, a deep care for individuals, and then the final thing I'd like to say, this is the half, is fun. So Silabodhi is great fun. It's one of the things that I've reflected on since he announced that he was leaving, that I just really miss his fun in the office. There's been multiple times where he's come up to my desk, just got the office chair with me in it, and just ran around the office with me in the chair. He's a master of really awful puns, so I'll miss the awful puns, and singing. Again, there's been many times where Silabodhi's just got a bit of an earworm, got something out, started drumming on the desk. Padmaloka's doing the drumming already, and normally I'll join in because we've got quite a similar taste in music despite our generational gaps. And we just have a great sing-song in the office, and it's great fun. So I just love that there's that, the courage, the strength, the care, and also the fun. So yeah, Sadhu.
How are you doing, Silabodhi?
I'm still here.
Good. So before we get a chance to hear from you, I know you've got some things you want to share with our Sangha. Tom, who's from your study group, has got a gift to give to you. Ooh. It's a very, very big card.
Well, I don't know. Read it later.
Yeah, so just wanted to give you some space, Silabodhi, to share whatever you want to share with us.
Are you sitting or standing?
I'd rather sit, but I can stand if you want me to. I think I probably should have said I was standing. Sorry. You'll never get it to go back down again. Just way. It's very intimidating. You're never going to get your jacket back, you know. Adhisthana are going to want to keep it as a prop. Wow, well, thank you very much for those two rejoicings. They really blew me away, yes. Yeah, so I was jokingly going to say what I could do in my little talk would be to just actually work my way through the entire Sangha and thank them all. But it would sound like one of those awful Oscar speeches, wouldn't it? I want to thank my mum and my cousin and my... But I will do a bit of that at the end, actually, because it's definitely due. But you know who you are. That's the important bit. So in a way, this is a little mini Dharma talk, really. And some of you have heard me musing on this subject at various times. It took a long time to realise this, but a few years into the job, I realised that, for me at least, the role as chair was an exercise of the middle way. And just to say, actually, get a few years in, Diane Andy was spot on. She didn't remember this, but she said to me, it will take you a year and a half to just understand the job. It was almost exactly a year and a half, actually, before I had any idea what I was doing, really. So it must have been working okay, but I didn't have confidence that I knew what I was doing, which is the difference between just doing it. And this middle way thing, well, as some of you know, I teach a lot of introductory courses, and I think week 3, probably somebody here knows, Helen will know, week 3 of the intro course, I think we take on the subject of the middle way, and I always thought, oh my God, how do you explain the middle way? It's really difficult, and it's still rolling out how you explain it in a way. I think it really involves holding a much larger perspective over the polarities of any situation. And then we can, that's what we do a lot, isn't it? We ping around from one point of view, or we jump to the opposite point of view and counter it, and we self-identify with these views. And the middle way is to hold it in a much bigger bowl, seeing it all, and seeing what's beyond it and above it, what transcends it, I think. And at its best, I think the chair is trying to do this, whilst not getting sucked into the polarities themselves, actually, which of course is an easy thing to do. So let me give some little examples of the middle way, just so you kind of know what I'm talking about. Some of them are just straightforward. So meditation is a great example. Meditation is a subtle balance between effort and relaxation or receptivity to our experience. So if you have too much of the former, willful tightness and rigidity arises. I always remember my good friend Maharshada, who's my preceptor, saying he just used his willpower and he rammed his way through the early stages of meditation. And it kind of works, actually. It does work for a while, and then it all goes to pieces and it all goes wrong, and you're missing the subtleties and so on, and you're not taking yourself into account. And then the opposite, of course, is too much relaxation. I like to say, and I take it from Vasantra's teaching, that all of the path, the Dharma, is really relaxation. And then I say, no, don't tell people that. That's a disaster, because actually it's a really complex idea what relaxation in this sense means. And of course, if we don't have purpose, we just drift. And I'm sure we've probably all had meditations where we try really hard and then we just drift. I certainly know I do. So there's a middle way. I think as chair, one of the middle ways is balancing the interests of minorities and the majority in ways that listen to all the concerns and encourage growth and new understanding, but respect existing values as well. That's really difficult, but it really needs to be done. You can never please everybody, but you can try and find a way that somehow brings everybody in and gives everybody a feeling that the Sangha is theirs and that they can benefit from being part of it. Another one would be skillful managing of our Buddhist inclination to altruistic activity, which is fabulous, of course. But we need to stay resourced, especially by our own Dharma practice, and Dayanandi was referring to this. Always keeping an eye on our motivation for acting, albeit with an understanding that all motivations are mixed this side of awakening. Where is a reasonable way between selfishness and completely overextending ourselves without regard for the consequences? I think that idea of the Bodhisattva as their activity is play is so deep, isn't it? Because I know, I'm sure a lot of you, there's some really kind to altruistic people in this Sangha, but they can get burnt out as well. So how do you balance that? And of course, if as we begin to kind of, deconstruct this strong self-fixed self-sense, then that ability to do both altruistic and resourcing becomes just more natural. Long way to go for me, I have to say. I suppose this is a favourite theme, which some members of the team will have heard many times from me, especially poor old Vishankar and Surika. For me, recognising the multitude of different Sangha psychological profiles or personality types encounter the depth of the Dharma each time leads to a unique path of practice. In fact, a unique path of practice needs to emerge. If you don't make Dharma and practice your own, it will eventually not fit you. So it has to be congruent with your inspiration. But to maintain our movement, which is beneficial to so many throughout the world, this must be balanced with a deep appreciation of what Triratna gives us, of what it has given us, what it continues to give, and its culture, and its ways of practice as handed down by Sangharakshita, our founder. Otherwise, what our great movement does for us and those in the future will be lost. So this is a dynamic balance of personal inspiration and the culture of the context in which we practice. This, I think, is a middle way. And we need a shared language, don't we? Respect for our tradition has given us that. And yet, we need to express our deepest understanding of the Dharma beyond the confines of any set of doctrines or specific teachings. The middle way requires standing in defense of both these vital principles. Another example I've encountered is, and this is more specific, is understanding how politics with a small p will always manifest in socially progressive movement. After all, the Dharma is revolutionary, so it is progressive. But at the same time, resisting the insidious effects of politics with a large P. Neither right, left, nor middle allegiances should, in my opinion, interfere with our Dharmic perspective. Telling the two P's apart can be really tricky, and I've fallen foul of that. Well, not quite, but nearly on a number of occasions. So, in the role of chair, awareness is key. So, am I fully seeing what my own opinion is? How is it playing out? What are my motivations? And am I aware of any, even unconscious, attempts by me, for example, to manipulate others to win an argument to get to a goal that I think is good for us, or good for me, or good for the centre? At the same time, you've got your experience, haven't you? I've got my experience and the role of my career outside, decades of work and so on. That could be valuable. So how to know when to stand ground and when not to? This has led to me to reflect on the balance between leadership and collective decision making. Too strongly tending either way can lead either to quite unethical values or to vagueness and ineffective procrastination. Often I felt I didn't get the balance quite right. So, on a final different note, I do want to take this opportunity to celebrate our excellent Manchester Sangha, Centre and Centre team. Each centre, and I've observed this, I sit on the European Chairs Assembly, which Lokeshvara will also do, and I sit on the executive that runs that. So each centre has its own character, with its own mix of practitioners, traditional and more countercultural. I couldn't think of another word for them. Manchester's nothing like Sheffield, for example. Sheffield is an excellent centre. It's nothing like Manchester. And we're nothing like the LBC either, and that's another excellent centre. We have our own, it has its own atmosphere. And personally, I love the freedom and range, I think, that we have, and I think it expresses the spirit of Manchester, which has always been a pioneering city. We benefit from a really effective, dedicated team. I suspect people don't really realise that sometimes. The building rolls on, the Sangha rolls on, people pour in, do their thing, and quietly behind, in the background, and I'm looking at some of them, the team are working away. Often you just don't know what they're doing. And they love the place. They love the place. And they keep a complex entity going, often unseen in the background. And they do it quietly, actually, really quietly, but without, I'm going to name names now, I can't resist it, without Buddha Samagama doing the finances and getting them really tight so that we really understand what's going on, we would be in serious trouble. Without Paranayaka over there fixing absolutely everything, it's unbelievable. That man and power tools, don't ask him about power tools, because we haven't got enough time left. But he can fix anything, basically, and if he can't, he knows someone who will. And he always does it with positivity as well, which I think is so impressive. And we got Chandradeepa on comms, and he's very good at it. He's very good turn of phrase, very good way of working with language, and lots of good ideas about promoting it. And I noticed, Chandradeepa, you're always working on new ideas about how can we reach more people? This isn't working. What are we going to do better? We've got to think of something else. Who can we bring in from the Sangha? And he's brilliant at bringing in friends to help with tech and with ideas around marketing and so on. Where am I going? I need to go around the office, otherwise I'll miss somebody. Come to the Mitra Convenors last. Oh, Louise. Louise isn't here. But hey, guess what? Louise organised a lot of this Sangha retreat, and she did an amazing job of it. So I really want to thank her, and I'm sorry she's not here, but maybe she's watching. So hello, Louise. Mitra Convenors. Oh, so I bet I've missed somebody. I'm going to get into trouble now with myself. Ananda Moksha. Yes, oh, actually, Ananda Moksha is a very good example. Ananda Moksha, who is a good friend of mine and decided to retire early. He thought, no, actually, he wanted to throw himself into the Dharma life. That's why he retired early. And I had the cheek to ask him whether he would run the bookshop as Paranayaka left it. And then, would he do it for nothing? And he said, yeah, that's fine. I'll do that. He did it as a volunteer. So that's wonderful. And then we've got these two fantastic Mitra conveners, both sitting over there, convenient. And honestly, you could not want for better Mitra conveners. Their care and attention to the health of the Sangha and individuals' health in the Sangha is fantastic. And I certainly, and a lot of that praise for me, which was lovely, also applies to them. A lot of the time, especially in the later period, I think, we generally ran things together with the help of the rest of the team. And then lastly, I want to say the bit that I think Dayanandi referred to, which I think in some ways is the bit I'm most proud of, is it was very sad to experience the team shrinking. And we did, nearly by half. And it was, it was times when people were leaving, we just didn't replace them. And that wasn't enjoyable. It wasn't enjoyable at all because it was a lovely team and everybody really contributed. But I knew we had to have a smaller team to make the place work. But there was an upside. And this was part of the motivation. A big team often makes people feel less involved. They don't need to do anything. The place is running so incredibly well. A smaller team, and you have to have volunteers. You have to have volunteers. I almost wanted it to look like things weren't working fully, so that people would come forward and say, I can help with that. And we've got so much skill in our Sangha, and there's so many things people can do. And now what's lovely is we have some really good teams running. I'm looking at Sue there, for example, who helps Paranayaka with fire safety and so on. Helen over there is helping us with health and safety. And there's loads of people helping all around the centre. I'm not going to name all the volunteers. But it's really brought a new energy and atmosphere in, and really taking possession of the Sangha. So, because it's your Sangha, so it's your centre, your Sangha, and that's a lovely thing to see. So I'll leave it there. Thank you.
So let's take 5 minutes, have a leg stretch. Let's do that in silence though, because then we're going to move on to the second part, which is introduction and hearing from Lokeshvara, and then we'll move into the ritual. So let's have 5 minutes silent break. Thank you.
Is it all working? Yeah. Okay, I think let's make a start. Well done, everybody, for staying with it. It's a lot to take in. Okay, that was then, and this is now. So I'd like to invite Lokeshvara to come and sit at the front.
Expensive chair underneath.
No turning back now. So I'm going to invite Arthapriya to just introduce Lokeshvara to us.
Well, this is Lokeshvara. And his name means the Lord who looks down, I think, or something.
Lord of the world.
Lord of the world. The same as, it's another name for Avalokiteshvara. So it's a big word, big name, I mean, for a very impressive man. But first of all, I was thinking the first thing I thought of when I thought of Lokeshvara is, and it's like the last of rejoicings of Silabodhi, that he's fun. He's great fun. As some of you probably witnessed this afternoon, although I wasn't there, playing rounders. He loves playing games. He loves, competitiveness in a very kind of light-hearted way. He doesn't take things too seriously, or I hope not. And I've been asked to be a bit more brief than the other rejoicings, so I'm going to say a few things, but pithy. What I really appreciate, one of the things I've known Lokeshvara for coming up to 30 years, I think, when we first met at Padmaloka. We were both mitras and had asked for ordination. Well, I had. I'm not quite sure whether you had when I first met you. And we ended up getting ordained together in 2002 on a 4-month retreat. And so we've known each other a long time, although it's probably only the last 5 years that we've actually become closer friends, I'd say. And one of the things I've really noticed about Lokeshvara is that he always really gives me his attention when I'm talking to him. And I think he does that. He really gives people his attention when he's talking to them. And I think that's a really important quality of someone who's going to be the chair, because they need to listen. It's not just about, it is about leading, but it's about listening and really seeing what the Sangha is about. And he's new to Manchester. He's come to Manchester at a time in his life when he really wanted to take something new on. He'd been International Order Convenor, which is a role that not many other people apart from order members probably know about. But he was at the centre of organising order conventions, all sorts of order weekends, and he was living here at Adhisthana for 8 years, was it? And he was involved in all sorts of work with the public preceptors, and so he's got an immense amount of experience. But his job as order convener was about going around listening to the order, going around the world, seeing what order members in chapters were really, how their practice was basically, and what they were really looking for. Not so much what they were looking for, but what they needed from the order. And I think that experience is going to really bode well. He said one of the things he wants to do when he becomes chair is really get to know the order in particular, but also the Sangha in more general terms, and really go to all the chapters, which are groups of order members that usually meet weekly, which are, as Sangha called them, spiritual workshops, which are a lot of the basis of people's practice. I know that it's very important practice for me to be in a chapter every week. So that quality of, well, he wanted another project in the movement. And I think that exemplifies his dedication to service. Before he was an International Order Convenor, he was living and working at Padmaloka, and he was chair for a number of years, is that right? Mm-hmm. And after he was chair, he joined the ordination team to kind of support men who'd asked for ordination get ordained. And that was interrupted because he ended up being invited to be, or proposed, or encouraged to become the International Order Convenor. So 2 years ago he left that, and he's had a space in which to decide what he wanted to do next. And there were other projects that he was interested in, but this came up, and he's really wanting to give it a go, wanting to get to know the Sangha in Manchester, really wants to be at the heart of things, and he wants to serve. He's very much a servant, I think. I mean, his name meaning one of the, the arms of Avalokiteshvara, the 1,000-armed, 11-headed form of Avalokiteshvara. I don't know whether there's an image of him here, but that is a symbol of the order, and Lokeshvara, I think, exemplifies a lot of that, in that he's really looking out and wanting to help. But he doesn't do that without really asking often difficult questions. I think similar to Silabodhi, he's really wanting to understand, and he's not willing to take things for granted. He's not, you don't accept things as they seem to be. That's the way things are done. He'll look at things and say, is this the best way? Is this the best way to practice? Are we doing it in the most appropriate for this day and age, for this time, for these people? I think, I'm very grateful. I find the conversations I have with Lokeshvara very, very stimulating and interesting. We don't just talk about, he does like to talk about sports and all sorts of things, but he's very interested in how we practice and how we go deeper. And I think as a chair, he's going to be, I was going to say a breath of fresh air, but that sounds like we need something. I don't think we're a very vital and the Sangha, I think, is very alive at the moment. And I think that's a lot to do with Silabodhi's leadership. He's handing on the Sangha in Manchester in a very good position to Lokeshvara. And I think Lokeshvara will really take up that baton really, really well, because, you're someone that really takes things seriously, but you can do things in a light way as well, and you listen, and you have a lot of heart. People who know Myers-Briggs, he's the type of the person that is very good at listening, and I'm very good at listening, but if I go to Lokeshvara or Vishankar, for example, they're both the same kind of personality type, I think, and they just draw everything out of me, so beware, when... When you meet Lokeshvara, you'll find that you just tell him everything automatically. You'll just want to. Yeah, it's a beautiful quality. So I'm very pleased that you're going to be our chair, and I think I've probably done my time, so I better stop there. But I think we're going to have a wonderful chair, and I hope you stay for forever.
An opportunity for you to just say a few words. Do you want to? Are you okay standing up to do that? It'll be quicker, I think.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Nice to just. I'll say a few things. I think two things really to give context. I am giving one of the personal talks in the morning, so I won't say very much. I'll say a bit more just so you can get a sense of me tomorrow morning. Also for me, although obviously there's this ritual handover, it does feel it's so lovely just to say thank you as you did to Silabodhi. It was very moving for me just to hear those rejoicings, and it feels like that's the main event actually tonight. Most of you don't know me, only a few of you do. I mean, just a little bit of kind of context, really, maybe just for tonight. What I've been thinking. I mean, by the way, it's not just random coming to Manchester. It's not just like, oh, I'll serve anywhere. There is something. I've been coming and visiting. I don't know many of you, right? But I have been coming and visiting Manchester since probably the early 2000s. I always liked coming to visit. I've visited a lot of Triratna centres all over the world, actually, and I always liked coming to Manchester. And I'm not saying that so that you think, oh, that's good, now he's becoming our chair. What I mean is, that is one of my motivations for becoming a chair. I always like coming. There's that iconic centre, it's true, but I knew it's always about the people, actually. I mean, that's what our community is about. It's always about the people. So, you know, I was aware of the people who ran the centre, the people who were the team, the volunteers, and just like the kind of mood. I've actually sat, you know, just in the on the downstairs thing and just watch people coming in and out and so on. And I think you'll have to teach me what it's like being in Manchester, what Manchester people are like. Varasaki over there, she's very kindly put me up. Yeah, well, I arrived 2 weeks ago. It's very kind of you to do that. I'm really enjoying getting to know you. And you said to me in your chapter, one of your chapter members said, yeah, Lokeshvara's we're gonna need to get him manked up. Was that you, Leela Shiri?
No, I was just thinking she'd be
she'd be a good person to do it. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what that means, but I instantly liked it. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm up for that. I'm up for getting manked up, whatever that means. So there you go. So, I mean, what I can tell you is, I mean, apart from just enjoying, you know, getting to know the Sangha better, as Upatriya said, I mean, one of the things is I just feel really devoted to this community, Triratna generally. And that happened to me within a few weeks of like coming along to the centre. And I think I was listening to those Noble Eightfold Path lectures that you mentioned today in your talk, you know, Perfect Vision. And then meeting the people. And within a few weeks, I was like, I'm just going to sign up to this community. I've been on the edge of a number of different kind of communities and work situations, and you know, I wanted to do something that would, I don't know, just have some kind of positive effect on the world. And actually I worked for or alongside international development agencies and some human rights organisations, and I met a lot of good people, but I also met quite a dose of cynicism as well, and I called it a graveyard of naive idealism. And what I liked when I walked through the door of the Buddhist Centre, that it was an attempt to actually live the positive alternative, not just complain about the way the world is, actually to try and live out what the positive alternative is. And it really stayed with me. I was like, yep, these are the people I'm prepared to, despite, you know, all of the whatever that you meet in any community where you've got high values, people don't always live up to them. It's hard for all of us, you know, to live up to them all of the time. But nevertheless, I thought there was some real gold there. And I have benefited from the teachings. It's changed my life. It's been a fantastic adventure. I haven't regretted any year of my involvement. That was probably, when was that? Mid-90s. And I had to decide at some point whether I'd go back and pick up my career or like just go all in. And I just decided to work for the movement. So more or less I've done that, most probably about 23 of the last 25 years. And no regrets. So I'm hoping, because my last job as International Order Convenor was travelling around the Triratna world, you know, my priority was to meet order members, but that also meant I got to see like most of the Triratna centres around the world. And somehow I can feel that those impressions add up to something about what the nature of a Buddhist centre is. I don't quite know what that is. I've had some reflections on order practice and so on, but I think I've seen so many Buddhist centres and what goes on, and there are some real similarities, but I'm hoping that one of the reasons, or one of the things I can do coming to Manchester is just to go, yeah, okay, what have I seen? What have I seen around the world? And what actually, you know, what's the vision? What's the vision now? You know, what is it? I don't think I don't, you know, and I don't know the answer yet. I'm just like really looking forward to engaging those kind of questions. So anyway, it's not like I'm coming with a manifesto. I'm coming with quite a lot of curiosity, and I just look forward to. I mean, I'm quite shy and, you know, quite introverted actually, as some of you know. But also, I've got a kind of, what would I call it? I'm really curious about people as well. I'm really curious about people, and I really like getting to know people. So I'll do that as much as I can. All I have to do is just resource myself. I need a walk in the hills every now and again, and that kind of thing. But I mean, I've already started 2 weeks ago, so it's not like it's you know, I'm already sort of here and so on. But it's nice just to have a kind of ritual tonight. Yeah, thank you.
Move the microphones and the chair. Just have a little stand up and shake out before we do our collective puja. I just want to suggest that we consciously, before we sit down, that we all just turn and look at the shrine for a moment. Yeah, just turn our attention to the shrine before we start the puja. Just take your seats. We're moving now into a collective practice. Thank you everybody for really fully witnessing and celebrating Silabodhi, and for welcoming and witnessing Lokeshvara. And now bring yourself fully in to a collective practice that is all of us recognising and expressing our connection to the three jewels. So we're alongside one another, whether we're an order member, the chair of the Buddhist Centre, whether we're really new. This practice is about acknowledging and just an expression of our devotion to the Buddha, the Dharma and the Sangha. And I've got a special bell by my side. I won't tell you the full story, but the bell here in the shrine room is the original bell from when the Buddhist Centre first opened. It sort of found its way back to us, and it's with me this evening for this special puja. In the puja, after the first section, the puja will be in call and response. And after the first section, in silence, Silabodhi will come up to the shrine and he will place on the shrine some ritual objects that have been passed from chair to chair over many years. Once Silabodhi's sat back down again, then Lokeshvara, this is the ritual really, Lokeshvara will come up to the shrine in silence and he will take those ritual objects, and that marks him taking up the responsibility of becoming the new chair of the Manchester Buddhist Centre. And Lokeshvara will be placing a personal object on the shrine and leaving it there, and he'll say more about that tomorrow. And at some point we'll shout something and I'll give you the cue. And right at the end of the puja, Vishankar will start the Shakyamuni mantra, and feel free to join in. Leave if you're feeling tired, if you think, yeah, that's it, I've done. Or make offerings. Just feel free to stay on or leave whenever you want once we start the mantra. But before we start the puja, I just want you to close your eyes. And I'm going to read out the names of all the previous chairs of the Manchester Buddhist Centre, starting from 1977. And let's just remember, whether you know these people or not, these were all order members who took on this responsibility of being a guide, a friend, a guardian to the Manchester Buddhist Centre community and Sangha. And if any of you are listening, we thank you for what you have given. Thank you to Sagramati, Suvadra, Mokshapriya, Ratnaguna, Arthapriya, Mokshapriya, Mokshajoti, Dayamala, Artavardin, Silabodhi. The threefold puja. We reverence the Buddha.
We reverence the Buddha.
The perfectly enlightened one.
The perfectly enlightened one.
The shower of the way.
The shower of the way.
We reverence the Dharma.
We reverence the Dharma.
The teaching of the Buddha.
The teaching of the Buddha.
Which leads from darkness to light.
Which leads from darkness to light.
We reverence the Sangha.
We reverence the Sangha.
The fellowship of the Buddha's disciples.
The fellowship of the Buddha's disciples.
That inspires and guides.
That inspires and guides.
when you're ready.
Sadhu! Sadhu! Sadhu!
Reverence to the three jewels. We reverence the Buddha.
We reverence the Buddha.
And aspire to follow him.
And aspire to follow him.
The Buddha was born as we are born.
The Buddha was born as we are born.
What the Buddha overcame, we too can overcome.
What the Buddha overcame, we too can overcome.
What the Buddha attained, we too can attain.
What the Buddha attained, we too can attain.
We reverence the Dharma.
We reverence the Dharma.
And aspire to follow it.
And aspire to follow it.
With body, speech and mind until the end.
With body, speech and mind until the end.
The truth in all its aspects.
The truth in all its aspects.
The path in all its stages.
The path in all its stages.
We aspire to study, practice, realise.
We aspire to study, practice, realise.
We reverence the Sangha.
We reverence the Sangha.
And aspire to follow it.
And aspire to follow it.
The fellowship of those who tread the way.
The fellowship of those who tread the way.
As one by one we make our own commitment.
As one by one we make our own commitment.
An ever-widening circle the Sangha grows.
An ever-widening circle the Sangha grows.
Offerings to the Buddha. Reverencing the Buddha.
Reverencing the Buddha.
We offer flowers.
We offer flowers.
Flowers that today are fresh and sweetly blooming.
Flowers that today are fresh and sweetly blooming.
Flowers that tomorrow are faded and fallen.
Flowers that tomorrow are faded and fallen.
Our bodies too, like flowers, will pass away.
Our bodies too, like flowers, will pass away.
Reverencing the Buddha.
Reverencing the Buddha.
We offer candles.
We offer candles.
To him who is the light, we offer light.
To him who is the light, we offer light.
From his greater lamp, a lesser lamp we light within us.
From his greater lamp, a lesser lamp we light within us.
The lamp of Bodhi shining within our hearts.
The lamp of Bodhi shining within our hearts.
Reverencing the Buddha.
Reverencing the Buddha.
We offer incense.
We offer incense.
Incense whose fragrance pervades the air.
Incense whose fragrance pervades the air.
The fragrance of the perfect life.
The fragrance of the perfect life.
Sweeter than incense.
Sweeter than incense.
Spreads in all directions
Spreads in all directions.
Throughout the world.
Throughout the world.
Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha.
Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Muni Muni Maha Shivaya.